Hey, Coach, appreciate your time today. We'll get
Thank you.
started here with we'll get started here with Dave and then Tim.
Hey Nick, as you went through the process of game planning for the Bucks a second time, how different is Jalen as a player now than he was in early October?
Yeah, I think it significantly. He's definitely gotten better. Throughout that time, which it doesn't surprise me at all because Jalen's a student of the game. Jalen wants to get better, craves to get better. He's got high football character, and those are like I've said plenty of times, the tough guys that are tough, guys that have high character, high football character, and guys who love football are going to reach their ceiling. So I think you're just seeing it. You're seeing him grow closer and closer to his ceiling. And so, yeah, he's definitely better, and he's just going to continue to get better because of who he is as a person and as a player.
Tim and then Ed.
Hey Nick, I'm wondering if you view the first game against the Bucks as a turning point for you guys. It was really after that loss that you guys really seemed to change your approach on offense, and what the conversations were like coming off of that game as you were processing that and making the change.
As hard as Thursday night games are sometimes to prepare for, the back end of it, if you're using that time wisely, the back end of it can be used to rest, and then to really, as coaches, study what's been working, what hasn't been working, and we definitely took advantage of that as coaches. We studied, that very thing, what's working for us, what's not working for us. And we came away with some answers there. Now, did that show up the very next week against the Raiders? It started to, and then we kind of got in a little bit of a hole. We didn't play our best game there either, as we all know. But I think what you saw is, it started to turn that game as far as our, kind of who we were and what we were doing. Not only in the run game, but also in the passing game and the way we were doing some things in the passing game as well, to make things a little bit easier for Jalen and to be able to see the things a little differently, and our receivers and tight ends and running backs. So that definitely was a time that we used as coaches, and I'm just appreciative of all our coaches that we have on this staff that put that time and that hard work into. I mean, that's what we do. That's what we get paid to do. But there was a time where some might use that as extra rest. We use that as extra time to get better. Because we knew we needed to get better, obviously, right, with where we were at that particular time in the season.
Go ahead, Ed, and then Bo.
Yeah, hi, Nick. Just to ask you, slow starts have been kind of the theme, of the season, unfortunately. Is there anything you guys can do as a coaching staff to kind of start quicker, or anything you can change to make that happen?
Again, you're always trying to go in with your best plays ready to go, and you're also trying to get information on what's happening out there as well, right? And so it's a both and. You want to be able to do some things that you're going to start off well, and get a successful first drive and second drive and et cetera, but then also gather information in that time. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything that you can do any differently than the process that we have right now. To be completely honest with you, we got to do like any other time. We got to put the players in position to make plays, and the players got to execute when they go out there. And so again, we're all in this together. So with as far as that goes, and sometimes I think it's been a little bit, hey, the offense started slow, the defense was hot, right, or vice versa, right? And so it hasn't been. We just got to put it together as a full team of starting fast, both sides of the ball at the same time.
Go ahead, Bo, and then Jeff McLean.
Hey Nick, on Jalen, I know you said after the game that part of the plan for resting him was that you expected him to be 100%. Is that the case? And then do you think that there is some kind of guesswork from the Bucks defense perspective in terms of how athletic Jalen will be able to be in this game in terms of how they're preparing?
Yeah, you always, as an opposing coach, scouting another team, right? You're always taking into account what they do as a whole, and then what they've done the last part of the season, right? Maybe the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. So that I don't think we're alone in our process of the way we do that. I'm sure a lot of other coaches I've been around do that same thing. So again, they have to look at that. So of course, like as you've played differently throughout the year, right? They're going to have to look at all that. And Jalen's feeling pretty good. We're going to go out there and practice with a walkthrough today, but we'll get more and more information on him as the week goes out. But I know the last week off really helped him heal and get better and closer to that 100%.
Jeff and then Chris Franklin.
Sorry about that. Nick, what's the best advice you've received or that you feel a quarterback should hear heading into a playoff game or his first playoff game, beyond just that this is like any other game, because we all know it's not just like any other game?
Well, to this week or earlier in this week, Jason Kelsey came to me and we were talking and just discussing the playoffs, and what he said I really thought was valuable. He said the things that lose you games in the regular season also lose you games in the playoffs, and so we really were talking about assignments and fundamentals, like the minute details of what you do and how you do it, right? Know what to do, know how to do it. I must have said that 50 times to the team today. Know what to do, know how to do it. Know what to do, know how to do it. And it just kind of amplifies. And then Jason came to me with that earlier in the week. And then my assistant, Tyler, he found a video of Kobe Bryant speaking to the team in 2017 where, it was ironic because Jason came to me and Tyler didn't know anything about what Jason was going to say, and Jason didn't know anything about what Tyler was going to say. Tyler came to me and gave me this video of what Kobe Bryant was saying, later in the season, not quite at the playoffs, but getting ready to go into the playoffs in 2017. And his message was exactly the same. It was, hey, the fundamentals and technique get amplified more and more so, and the assignment get amplified more and more so in the playoffs. And he and Kobe went in to tell a story about Game 7 or Game 6 of the Miami Heat versus the San Antonio Spurs, and he really dove into a fundamental mistake that somebody made to help make that game change. And so it was, that is the message, the emotion of the game too is that motion's going to be there. The emotion of the game is going to be there. All we can do right now is, and my message is to Jalen, and this is my message to the team, is control what we can control right now, and that's getting a little bit better each day, and hyper focus on the assignment and the fundamentals. What's great about that is that's been our hyper focus the entire year. So we're not really doing anything differently. We're just bringing up that point of emphasis again, that two great leaders, two great people from the city, one that played in Philadelphia, one that grew up in the city of Philadelphia, emphasized going into this playoff game. And I thought it was a great message coming from Jason and coming from Kobe Bryant.
Go ahead, Chris, and then Rube.
Hey, Nick, looking back when you first got to Philadelphia, what was that first interaction like when you first met Jalen Hurts in person? And then also, are you guys still meeting every Friday when it comes to the meetings that you guys had previous weeks? And how far is those meetings, or how far is they going to helping that connection that you guys have built over time?
Yeah. When I first met him, I think I was in the locker, or the locker. Yeah. Right in the equipment room is where I was. And, we just had a good conversation. I had met him before. I obviously did a lot of pre-draft work on him back in Indianapolis. I remember meeting him at the Combine, actually, off to the side when I was walking with Brian Daboll, who was one of, his offensive coordinator at Alabama, and he kind of introduced me. So had a lot of interactions with him just before that, the initial time where I met him. But, I was just excited to meet him and meet our quarterback. I think he had like a throwback Eagles starter jacket, which we thought was pretty cool too. You know, and yeah, of course, we're still meeting every Friday to just continue to grow our relationship, to continue that connection, to continue to work on the game plan like we do, and then off to my office just to continue to talk about anything outside football or football itself. And so, yeah, I value the relationship that I have with Jalen and all the players on our team. But there is always something special about a head coach and quarterback relationship that I value, that, you know, good organizations I've been around have that good, strong relationship between the two. That doesn't mean we don't get mad at each other here and there. That doesn't mean, you know, that doesn't happen, that everything's just nice and cushy at all times. But, you know, he's awesome to work with. Couldn't ask for a better guy to work with day in, day out. And, you know, look forward to continuing to have those Friday meetings as we continue through the playoffs.
All right, we have time for one more, so Rube will be the last one.
Hey, Nick, I wanted to ask you about the kind of the bottom half of the roster. You've gotten contributions this year from a lot of non-starters, guys who have been filling in for injured guys or COVID list guys, practice squad guys. How important to where you've gotten has been the fact that you've been able to rely on the entire roster and not just your kind of 22 projected starters?
Yeah, that's a good question, Rube. That very much so. So first of all, you know, it starts with the depth and the talent that Howie and his staff have brought in here, right? To be able to having, you know, you're going to go through injuries in the season, and we definitely are you know, I know we're one of the better teams as far as injuries go, but we still have lost key players, and then to have guys that be able to step in for them and play well has been unbelievable, because I think the teams that don't do that, right, they, you know, obviously they suffer from it. So, you know, again, first and foremost, the players that Howie's brought in, and then also the players itself to be ready for that opportunity, right? And so we talked a lot about, you know, roles on the team early in the year. That was one of our talks that we had, like, hey, what's your role on this football team? And we really thought it was important to, you know, explain roles, to point out roles, and just, you know, let everyone aware, like, hey, this is your role on this football team. And the guys that were at the back end of the roster was always, hey, we need you to contribute in special teams and be a guy that is in special teams and ready to you know, make plays on special teams, those 22 to 25 plays a game. But also your job is to be there and be ready without a lot of the reps, to be ready to go if your number is called upon. And I just think, you know, guys accepting their role and who they are, I don't want to say who they are, but guys accepting their role of what it is on the team, even though I think obviously everybody's going to want a role of being the guy and being the starter, but that, right, like you said, there's 22 of them. And the guys that, you know, it's so important for a team to accept their role and be able to, you know, play their role, and then that role can be elevated based off of different things. I don't think that happens. Like, I don't think guys play their role unless you got good leaders on this football team like we do, and good people on this football team like we do. So again, another tribute to Howie and his staff of not only bringing in talented players that can step up and play when their number's called upon, but also good people that are ready to accept their role and elevate their role when called upon to do so.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.